All right, let's fire it up. Another podcast. We're back not only with the podcast, but we're back from the charity event.
Yeah. And it's just us.
It's just
Just
us.
us.
It's us.
But we got some great stuff to talk about because
Oh man.
for those of you that didn't see it, we were just in Seattle not long ago. And we were there for Gamers Outreach for their Gamers for Giving charity event that we've done 3 years now.
2 years for me.
Yeah.
But it was, I think
We did one just on the Hermitcraft server.
That's how it started.
The year before that, and that's how it started. And then last year we went to Michigan. You were a hermit at that time. You were a new hermit. Like
brand
you were
new.
Brand new.
I remember because Glue-Stick died during that.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, we were only 2 months into the season at that point or something like that.
Something
it was
like that,
really
yeah.
early in the season. And your glue stick died during the event. But we were in Michigan for that, which was super cool. We were in like their LAN event that they put on every year. They've been doing that way before they worked with Hermitcraft. And that was kind of cool being in that arena. But this year was something special.
Very different.
With a couple reasons we wanted to switch venues. One, we like keeping everybody on their toes. But two, we wanted to be a little closer to Scar.
Yep.
To give him a chance because Scar is in a wheelchair and it's really tough for him to travel. So being able to make that journey easier for him meant a more likelihood that he would actually be there in person this time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was. It worked out.
He got to be there, and that's when we did it last year, Scar is the nucleus of this whole effort.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, he's on
He
the
is
board.
now on the board of directors for
amazing.
Gamers Outreach.
It's unbelievable.
So yeah, he's part of the organization.
Yeah. So if there's any glue that holds us together, it is Scar. So him having to be Robo Scar last year was just felt so out of pocket. It felt so wrong.
Yeah.
And for the record, the foundation did what an amazing job they did with Robo Scar, but to not have Scar there wasn't super. So this year we did it in Mojang Studios over in Seattle.
Yeah, and that was nice. Mojang Studios basically kicked their employees out.
Yeah.
And they said, don't come into work
They gave them
for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And we took over, man. Like we really took over their office space.
Respectfully, we were respectful. Don't get that
were
face.
we, though?
Well, yeah, I think so. Okay, some of us may have thrown fruit around, but I didn't. Now hold on.
And
They were
darts and shaving cream and confetti.
But
we raided their fridge. And
no, we didn't. We had some of the sodas, but let's just start right away. Being inside Mojang Studios for this was amazing, and it was basically, one of our favorite movies. And I say our because I'm assuming it is one of your favorites. Is The Internship with Owen Wilson?
Yeah, and they went to what Google was, right? Yeah.
And if you remember, Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, when they went to the Google building, it was just like, what a place to work this would. It's like a giant playground is what it felt like. And that's what Mojang Studios felt like.
Seriously.
The entire inside.
There was like toys everywhere,
Yes.
Minecraft toys. And the whole place was decked out in Minecraft. Like every wall was mobs and biomes and stuff. And in fact, every conference room was named something like that. The spawn point, the end, that kind of stuff.
They had an entire, if you remember back where you and I used to work, they kind of did stuff like that was similar. It was like, there'd be a sign that would designate these land of 50 cubes is the meadow. I don't remember. But there was no difference. It was all the same. But in Mojang Studios, it was like the Nether.
Themed.
Yeah. And the Nether was like, there was a ghast on the wall and the carpet looked like lava. I'm like, okay, you guys did it right.
It was cool.
That's cool stuff.
I heard that the Mojang Studios in Sweden actually is even more decked out than that. Pearl was telling me because they had recently been to that office. And so she got a chance to see them like one after the other within a few weeks. But this place was super cool.
Yeah.
So we were in Redmond, Washington, just outside of Seattle. And we got really lucky. I think it rained because Seattle's known for its rain, right?
Yes.
And so I just expected to go to Seattle and just rain. I bought clothes to be in the rain.
Me too.
Yeah, I was ready to be in the rain.
Yeah.
And we got there and it was raining the first day.
For a little bit.
For a little bit. Yeah, we had to walk in the rain for like 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And then that was it. No rain the rest of the trip.
Sprinkling, really. It wasn't even that bad.
Yeah. So like we got really lucky with the weather. We were smarter this time. We got in a day early. Before last year in Michigan, I think we got in the day that we were setting up, the Friday. And this time we're like, no, let's get there Thursday night. That way we can settle into our hotel rooms and be ready to rock in the morning. Friday morning. And that's it. We got there. So the event was actually Saturday and Sunday, but we got there Friday early morning to do the setup.
Yeah.
And Glad we did, because we were there all day long.
All day.
Yeah.
Setting things up. Now let's pump the brakes for a second. Let's not just assume everybody knows what this foundation is for.
Yeah, that's
right.
Let's talk about it.
So this is what a wonderful thing. The Gamers Outreach Foundation, or Gamers for Giving, or what they create these mobile carts for hospitals that have just a ton of games on them, meaning like video games. And I don't know. Is it ever? It's what platform is it? Many platforms. What is it?
I think they mostly just go with the Xbox.
So mainly with the Xbox.
They may have some that have another console embedded in them, but the ones I've seen all had Xboxes in them.
So they have a ton of games. Just basically, it's a mobile platform, if you will, and it's specifically designed for children who have extended stays in hospitals, and that is. This is such an amazing thing, because a lot of people have had to deal with this on some sort of level, is that when you have a loved one in the hospital, it's like time stops.
Yeah.
It's like it absolutely stops. And it's like everybody, both the patient and the family that's there, it feels like the second hand on the clock just comes to an absolute standstill, and it's just, there's peril and there's anxiety. This is to bring a welcome to distraction. And sometimes if you're waiting for test results, or you're just, maybe it's an extended stay and it's not even that vital, but it's an extended stay. There's a way for these patients to get their minds off of it. They can also play with their parents. Sometimes when the patient is out of the room, maybe just the parents are playing or whatever. I've heard some stories of, where's the cart? Well, there's a couple doctors who are playing.
Sometimes medical staff, they got to unwind too.
Of course.
I don't blame them. But the one thing is, so Tango and I got a chance to actually go visit one of the carts locally here, because because of our events in the past and everything else Gamers Outreach has done, they've been able to deploy carts all over the world. So they're in many different countries, which is super cool. Which was, one of the things that we looked for in an organization to support, that because we have hermits all over the world, we want to, do our best to supply the whole world with stuff. And these carts are just vital. Once they have them, a lot of hospitals, they don't know what they're missing out on.
Yes.
So it took some convincing to actually put these carts in the hospital. But once they're there, they're asking for more immediately, because they can see how much these mean. And so Tango and I got a chance to go visit a hospital that I think had 3 carts that were delivered, and all 3 were because of our previous fundraising capabilities. And we got a chance to talk to patients that were there that were using them. And this place was they were doing like chemotherapy and things like that. It was a like cancer ward. And so then, whilst the patients were in, sometimes, like you said, in the waiting room, the cart would be there. And I talked to a mom whose daughter was constantly in there getting treatments and stuff. And the mom said, that cart really helped her get her mind off of what her daughter was going through, and able to pass time more quickly in the waiting room. And then, like you said, also the staff there admitted to using the cart from time to time. But like hearing the testimonies in from the actual people that were benefiting from these carts really did drive home how important this charity is to many, many kids, parents, and staff in these hospitals around the world. And so I am all in. With this charity. Gamers Outreach is an amazing, amazing charity. And so to have the opportunity to go back and do this again for the 3rd year, and then be in person and put on a good show on top of that, like we didn't want to just go and stand in front of a camera and ask for money, like we wanted to entertain at the same time, to help everybody to want to be there, and then hopefully donate if they could. And so,
and we did a good job.
That's what we did.
Last year we did it, and there was some planning involved, but when all was said and done, we're like, that went pretty well. And that went well with not a whole lot of planning, and not on the part of the foundation, on our part, on the hermits. It
was our first year being in person, so we didn't really know what we were getting into.
Right. And we kind of knew some, we're going to have some milestones. We're going to play some Minecraft. I think we did some Phasmo. Like we really massively improvised this schedule last year.
Yes, we did.
Where this year it was far more deliberate. There was like, listen, let's actually get structured and professional here in regards to what does it look like? What segments are we going to do? Who's running those? From a schedule standpoint, what does that look like? What are our milestones? Once we hit those milestones, how do we execute them? Like there was a lot more planning, and to the point to where I would argue, once again, we learned a lot of valuable lessons, and I'm chomping at the bit for next year.
Yeah.
And I want to be very, I want to be super forthcoming here. I personally feel so honored to get to be a part of something like this. And my involvement in the planning was very minimal. And that was sort of by design. Life has been, the last couple months have been pretty rough. And we know everything that's been going on. And I was like, I am just so grateful I work with these incredibly brilliant people who have got it. And I'm watching, and you guys are just crushing it in regards to the scheduling. I guess, I mean, he probably doesn't want to be called out, but I got to tell you, I saw a real leadership role in Zed behind the scenes, and I didn't ask his permission to talk about this, and I don't really care. He was really, and it wasn't like I didn't think he had that, but I was very, very impressed because he was very organized, very structured, very vocal, very driven. And I'm like, what am I seeing? This is delightful. And it was just so, it felt so good to sort of honor that in my own right, to be like, what can I fill out? What can I do? You know, as of this moment, I'm a worker bee. Tell me what you need. And I think a lot of people did that, but watching what came out the other side, I remember being like, I'm going to be more involved next year. I mean, you all just killed it, but I was dead weight in the planning. I didn't want to slow anybody down. So I'm going to be very agreeable, and that's the way it is. And that's fine. And next year, if it was just, like I said, a rough couple months, my head wasn't in the right place. And I was like, this is going to be next year. I'm looking forward to planning. And I'm cooking ideas.
Well, in your previous life, it's kind of what you did, event management type stuff. So
to the point to where you kind of called me out. I mean, I did this stuff. I was the point guy on event planning for a giant corporation where the budget was very deep and there was a ton of moving parts. I mean, we're shipping 100 people from all over the world to go do. I mean, it was every minute had to be accounted for. I knew what I was doing. I don't necessarily think you guys would have appreciated that version of Skizz type thing. You know what I mean? Because you'd
have to find the more relaxed.
I'd have to find a balance there.
YouTuber friendly.
Well, exactly. Well, I mean, when we're behind closed doors planning, but for the record, I can't say it enough. I think you all planned superbly. And I don't think the way that I do it when I am running things, I don't think it has to be that way. But I don't know how well I'd be at you know what I mean? I would be big on, everybody stop talking. You know what I mean? That's what I would do in these meetings. For the next 20 seconds, I'm the only one talking. And because it would be chaos and a lot of voices, but this environment welcomes that and it thrives on that. And then who am I? I'm not going to dampen that. I'm going to celebrate that. So it was really fun watching you guys cook and just being like, anything you guys need, I'm here.
One thing that was apparent from the beginning was that we wanted to put on a show. We wanted the whole weekend to feel like you just watched like network TV with just a series of game shows and hilarious shenanigans one after another. And like you said, Zedif really was the tip of the spear on that. Like that was him, like really ingraining that in us. That was him pushing, like, guys, let's really make this entertaining. Everybody come up with great ideas and we'll just throw them down and then we'll go through them. And we had many meetings of going through all the ideas and like, not good enough. That's out. Okay, I like that, but let's tweak that and let's go through iterations. You and I went through many iterations on the podcast segment that we were going to do, and we can talk about that. And so as we were going through this, Zach, the CEO of Gamers Outreach, the head of it all, he started to get that wind of this, like, oh, these guys are really going for this year. They want to put on an even better show than last year. And he went out and got us a production team.
Yeah.
And he brought in a production team during the whole weekend to set up all the cameras, the lighting. They were doing all the crazy like camera switching and stuff. And for us, it was seamless. Like we didn't know what they were doing really. We just knew they were there. But then after I got back and I started watching some of the clips, the way that they were cutting between things, it was like flawless.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but they were doing such a good job of capturing different angles and like they would just, I don't know, they almost like sensed things coming, like, oh, this guy's about to say something funny, and they would cut to him. I don't know how they did it. They're just such a good team. And they did that with like not a ton of direction.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we learned during this is like for instance, we had the Hot Ones segment.
Yep.
Right. And about an hour before that was going to begin, I go walking into the room where the Hot Ones was going to happen. And there was a table with 2 chairs and cameras facing inward.
Yep.
And I was like, what's this?
Why wouldn't there be, right?
What's this? And they're like, oh, we set up for the Hot Ones. And I'm like, well, no, we have like, we're going to do this thing and there's going to be other people over here with paddles and stuff. And they're like, oh, well, you didn't tell us that.
Yeah.
So we just assumed you were doing it just like the show.
And they were so cool about it.
And
too.
they were, and I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
I didn't ever tell them otherwise. All they knew was we were doing the hot ones.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so then it clicked in my brain like, oh, maybe I should be a little better about communicating what I need
Yeah.
to the production team. So with an hour to go, they rearranged the whole room, brought in different cameras, lights, everything, rearranged everything, and we were ready to go within an hour. And it seemed like it was good to go from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like nothing missed. It was crazy. So like, yeah, props to Zach.
They did amazing.
Props to the production team. Props to Zach for getting them in there too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how we would have done it if we didn't have them. It would have been very
Well, you got to think about this, right? So it could be argued. I mean, we did it last year, and there was a production team of sorts last year, but the scope was different. We didn't have many different sets and many different giant setups. I mean, there was a little bit. There was the clumsy cooking one. There was the hot ones, but it was the same camera, same angle, same table. It was the same everything. And not bad, just all, it was very rinse and repeat. Whereas as of this year, we stepped up the professionalism, which means the team that supplies the execution to that professionalism also had to be stepped up, an actual production team.
Yep.
And I think they did spectacular. And to the point to where I felt like I'm very grateful that these people are being as cool as they are being right now, because I would be upset.
We're a bunch of hooligans.
Well, not only that,
unorganized. Well, I mean, we were organized to a point, but not to that point.
Right.
We didn't think about what the production team would need from us.
Exactly. And that's why, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I get so vocal when I'm like when I would do it, what I was doing is that everybody who was a part of each segment, we would have the meetings beforehand and we'd step through minute by minute and be like, and I'd say like, go through all the materials. Okay, go through, and I would create 3D renderings of the building and stuff so that you could actually, and it got to the point where when I would get to the venue, the production team would have my 3D rendering printed out and up on their walls to be like, this is how we're setting up. You know what I mean? Just because it gives a visual. So when the guy was like, I set it up like hot ones, I'm like, of course you did, because that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
And furthermore, how are you not saying to us right now, maybe you should have told me that.
Yeah.
That would have been great. But he never said that. Just, no problem. We'll switch it.
They didn't roll their eyes. They didn't scoff at all.
Amazing.
Yeah. I want
to call them out. What was that name of that production company?
Liquid Dogs, I think was their name.
Liquid Dogs. And
they knocked it out of the park. And they were so nice about it, especially the roaming camera guy, who I'm sure I've sprayed with water in my water bottle at one point. Well, let's get to that. Can we go like chronological through the weekend? Because it'd be easier to talk about things in order in my brain. So we talked about, we came in Friday. There was a long day of setup.
Yep.
And they were still doing the like set design and stuff like that. So like we didn't have our first segment. We knew our first segment on Saturday was going to be the podcast. I'm doing air quotes because
the opening with Scar was first.
The opening was the intro, and then the first like real segment thing, the first skit, if you will, was going to be the podcast, which was started off as being an idea for a podcast, but that completely changed.
Well, let's go through that journey, because this is this podcast right now is to provide a little bit of BTS, a little behind the scenes, right? You and I came up with an idea that was good. We had a good idea. Our original idea for the podcast was we were going to vet a bunch of different, really kind of awesome, hard to answer questions. And we were going to pose them to a handful of hermits that were in the room with us. And we were going to do a pregame that would give them Uno reverse cards so that they could flip it back on us. So it would make for some fun dialogue, and it would have been good. However, Grian was like, I want to shock you guys. Like, he was really that like but here's the deal though. Okay. Let's call a spade a spade. Grian knows when something's going to be entertaining and when something's going to be less entertaining.
Yeah.
He's got that eye for it. And we just sort of tucked that behind our mind. I don't know how that works in. And then Martin had a completely different idea of, what if you guys did an Imp or Skizz type show where somebody asked you questions, and then there's people voted on who answered it better. And then as time went by, we're like, oh, dude, what if we join those ideas to where it's what Martin said, but when whoever loses the question based on the voting system gets the shock.
Yep.
And we're like, that's it. That's a better idea.
That's a better idea.
Yeah.
Because I knew as we were starting to see the different things being planned for the weekend that it was going to be a bit like crazy, like funny, we're gonna go at each other and it's gonna get a little out of control. And that was kind of the vibe.
Yeah.
It was a silly weekend. And the idea of like kind of kicking things off with a podcast, as much as I love hanging out and just chatting, it didn't really fit the vibe of what we were going for.
Correct.
So then with Green's idea and Martin's idea combined, it was like, okay, there it is. Now this is silly, and now this sets the tone for the weekend.
Yeah.
You and I trying to answer questions, getting shocked, then getting voted on who had the better answer, and getting punished by another shock that was going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now it's funny because we can't. It was hard to talk. Like I couldn't say ranch. I got shocked during ran. I don't remember what the heck we were talking
Where
about.
are those shock collars?
I have them. I brought them home.
Well, let's throw them away as soon as possible. Those were really, really painful. Like shocking. Are they nearby?
No.
Feels like they're on me.
No.
Because that was, so I didn't know what to expect. And these went like 1 to 16.
Yeah.
And we did some testing.
The testing
beforehand.
the day before was quite funny.
Green is a button pusher, and he's a bit of a masochist.
So
and so
happy.
him having that power was like,
Dude,
I've never seen him happier.
He was dying, laughing, pressing those buttons.
His laughter was worth the pain. I'll actually say that, but almost not, because I'm like, if you hit it again, I'm gonna throw you through the wall. Like that was like, and it was just testing, and he cranked it on me and shocked me.
And so when the levels of shock went from 1 to 16, that was the range on these devices. And during testing, I think we got to 10. I think he hit you with a 10.
I think a 10 or 11.
And so we kind of knew what 10 felt like, but we were a little scared of 16. And Pearl's partner, Karn, was like, I'll test a 16.
Yeah.
And he put the 16 on, and he took it, and he was like, yep, that's rough. But at least then we knew like it's doable.
Yeah. So we had somebody test the 16, and that was like, they lived through it. And so we're fine. we're fine. But when
it's cool. He's alive.
Yeah.
So
he's fine. He's
this
fine.
is okay.
Don't worry about
it.
Well,
yeah.
I think I did get hit with the 16 once, I think. And the 16, or the highest I did was either 11 or 16. It's a weird delta there, but for some reason it like zapped my memory as well, because I was just could not. 1, I couldn't feel at all. It was like it was off. 2, I couldn't feel at all. 3,
a slight tingle.
I felt a little bit of a beep, 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 beep. And then 4, I'm like, ooh, I kind of feel that. And then 5, I'm like, oh, that's starting to hurt. And then 6, I'm like, ow!
Yeah, 6.
Like it was crazy how exponential that shock. And we put it on our arm.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember thinking, all right, here's the deal, Skizz. Obviously, this is going to suck. But also, this is going to be a winner from an entertainment standpoint. So suck it up. But that's just what this is. What was killing me was I'm like, what is wrong with you? How are you not reacting to this? It's not in my head that it feels like I'm being like stabbed by 5 knives right now every time it hits my arm. And I told myself, I am going to find a way to take this hit and not scream every time. And it was completely involuntary. How do you not scream when you're getting stabbed in the arm? That's what's like blowing my mind.
I don't know. I wasn't trying to hide pain. You know what I mean? Like I knew there's better entertainment value in like accepting it and reacting to it naturally, instead of like trying to suppress it and be this cool macho guy that can handle pain. I wasn't in it for that. I wasn't trying to mask it at all. It's just, I was reacting how it felt. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just the way it was situated on my arm or what, I have no idea, but
I don't know
they were the exact same device. They did deliver the exact same amount of shock. I tested it afterwards because after this was over, I'm like, oh, maybe mine wasn't charged enough or something.
No,
and
both
so
sucked.
I took yours and I put it at the same level, shocked myself, and then same level on the one I wore and shocked myself, and it was the exact same. And I was like, I don't know what happened there. Like it just, like I said, it could have just been literally just where it was touching on my arm. I think yours was a little bit tighter.
It was, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I really don't. I have no idea if tightness means anything, but I do remember I put it on a little too tight to the point to where there were times I thought I was being shocked and I wasn't.
It was jabbing into your muscle,
stabbing into my skin.
That's probably it. It was probably that simple.
Who knows?
Who
cares?
But I just remember like I remember we're getting asked questions, and so we're having to process, what are we going to say? How are we going to make this, and I was getting a little annoyed. I will admit, I was getting a little annoyed because you always got first dibs at answering the questions.
I know.
And I was like, screw that. I'm jumping ahead of you.
Wait a minute. That's not true. It is true, but it's not true. It wasn't like I was like, me first, and they weren't like, Skizz, why don't you
He kept going to you first.
Was he?
I don't know.
I thought we was just like.
I didn't. Yeah, if it was open floor, somehow, anyway, you kept answering first. And I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because
No,
either,
but it was
either
giving you
you'd
time to
steal the
think.
answer or it wasn't helping.
It was giving you time to think. I thought I was doing you a solid if I popped in there. You would have rather have gone first.
I would have rather have been equal. Yeah.
Oh,
I would have
geez.
rather have been you first, then me first, and you
Okay,
first, then me
fair
first,
enough.
just to make it equal. But after like the first couple questions where you went first, I'm like, this isn't fair because maybe that was going to be my answer. And now I'm sitting here scrambling and your answer was already better. And I'm like, I don't know how to top that now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So I was like, so I finally started jumping in, but the whole time it's like, the whole time that's going on, I'm also seeing Jem and Green on the side debating on whether or not they needed to crank me up.
Yeah.
Because every time they would shock me, it wouldn't really faze me that much. And so I see Green like telling Jem, I'm going to crank it up. And Jem's like trying to talk him off a ledge. Like, no, you can't do that to him. And in the meantime, I'm thinking, yeah, no, do it. Like I was going to advocate that he cranks it up because I wanted to have an outburst like you had because I knew for entertainment value it would have been better if I had the same random screams in the middle of my statements that you had. So it was like there's so much going on as always. It's kind of like streamer brain when we're streaming.
Yeah,
you got so many things going on, and meanwhile we're supposed to be delivering these profound answers to these questions that are just like super hard to answer.
Insane. And what felt good about that whole thing was so Martin. Little shout out to Martin as the MC of the gig. He just absolutely smashed it.
Yeah.
He did such an awesome job as the MC, but we're going to punish him a little bit. So we made sure to give him a nice juicy shock at the end there. And I pushed it on his arm. I'm like, go. And he gave, his reaction to it was just so vindicating. He had the same reaction I did, like just crippling scream pain. I'm like, okay, good. It's not just me. And then Green too.
It was Green's idea.
He got shocked first, actually.
Yeah, it was Green's idea to take a shock before we even started, really. Well, after our first like little shock, he said, I think it'd be good to show that I took the shock too, so that he knows what he's getting into. Like he's not just pressing a button unaware of how much it affects us. And so he took the shock just so he had that awareness, which I think was really smart for a couple reasons. So that was his idea, and I'm glad that he did that too, because otherwise he might have just cranked us up to 16 from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did the Imp and Skizz podcast again.
Shockcast. The Imp and Skizz Shockcast was the official name of it.
I'm glad it's over.
It was fun.
It was fun.
It set the tone.
Entertaining, but it hurt, and it set the tone. And it was the exact right idea because it was noticeably better than what our idea would have been. And I stand by our idea would have been good, but this was better. This was much better. Then in that same room, they had to reorganize the whole thing for Tango and Zed did the quiet games, which those two together, they kind of belong together.
Yeah, they come up with such crazy ideas.
Yeah, they come up with great things, and they do. And I love what I see when they work together. And the quiet ones, the fact that they actually had a decibel reader on their phone on screen.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't know. So the day before, Tango's like, oh, it's a bummer. We can't get the decibel readings on screen. He couldn't figure it out. The production team figured it out. And so, another shout out to the production team. They figured out how to get the decibel reader on screen.
I don't understand it. They superimposed it on screen, but they were measuring it on the phone.
Right.
Whatever. Well done.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Somehow they were casting from his phone.
Yeah.
And they overlaid it, and it looked amazing when I watched it back. But what a fun time that was. I was partnered up with Jem.
You
were
Jem.
partnered up with Ren.
Yep.
And then we had Green and Jimmy.
Yeah.
Tryhards.
And here's another. For everybody out there, whenever we refer to somebody as a tryhard, by we I mean everybody in this industry. If they're a tryhard or they're a sweat, it means we're jealous.
Yeah,
that's what it means. That we can't beat them, and so there has to be something wrong with them.
They came up with strats.
They were but so did me.
Some
and
of them
Ren.
just seem so off the wall, though.
No, they were smart.
Let's scoop all the marbles as loud as we can.
Smart. Might as well.
Yeah, because
you're gonna definitely win one of them.
They were smart enough to know that many little noises is worse than one big noise. because of the way they were calculating the noise meter.
Which is by an average, but that's not true because they were the loudest in that competition.
It wasn't, somehow it averaged out to still be less. One big noise was still less.
No, they got last place for noise.
Did they on that one?
Yeah, they got, I might be misremembering, but they sacrificed the noise multiplier to make sure they had the most marbles. So the competition was, they essentially, every single noise that's made is tracked on this decibel reader, and within the allotted time, you're going to be given an average decibel dB that you hit. But you have to do a task. You can't just sit there. And their task was they had to scoop marbles from a glass bowl, transfer it with a plastic spoon, and then put it into the other person's plastic spoon. And then they had to transfer it into another bowl. But those plastic spoons were connected by a rope, and the bottom of the rope held a bell. Like, this is so brilliant. It's so much fun, dude. And I was just like,
did your bell ever go off? Because I don't think
we
never set our bell off.
One time, and it was red, and
I've completely blanked the results. I want to go back and look. I could have sworn they did not get last place for noise on that.
I want to look too, but I could have sworn they got last place because they were just like, oh, forget it.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But I think I was like, what?
I really want to know
now
because I could be misremembering it. What I do know is that it's so funny is that, so Ren and I are going back and forth, and we actually ended up with like a good dance. At first I was like going to do one marble at a time because I'm like, we're going to win the sound piece. That's what I want to win, the sound piece. But then I'm like, we're not getting enough marbles. I got to get more aggressive. But the thing is, when I would transfer it to Ren and then he would go to put it in, I would raise my hand in the air because it would raise that bell out of harm's way. Well, Ren didn't do that, so it smashed into the stool that was holding my bowl. So there was good. We got the one ding, and that made our decibel just spike in that one moment. But Ren and I had the least amount of marbles, and we were so wrong in all of our assessments because they asked, how do you think you did? And I was like, I think we did well on the marbles, but I think we were the loudest. We were actually the quietest and had the least amount of marbles. I could not have been more wrong.
I kind of took the same approach with the one marble thing, thinking to stay quiet.
Yeah.
And Jem wasn't very happy with me for that decision. In fact, I think there was a pretty choice picture where I was pretty proud of myself. And she not so much. I'll get you that picture so you can show everybody that one. That was a good moment. But we had a nice little, you know how it is with Jem. Like, she was very, very much just like, come on, very disappointed in me. And then I realized, oh, she wants me to just go for it. So then I started scooping, and we did okay. I think we got I swear we got middle of the road on every single event through. There was 3 different things. So there was the marble thing. And then the next one was the ping pong balls, right? Blowing the...
Now let's talk about that. This is the thing about this world, and here's some behind the scenes that I find fascinating. They had another entire game set up for this. And in the original game was they had balloons. You blow up a balloon, and then you use the air from the balloon to propel the ping pong.
No, it was to blow out a candle.
To blow out a candle. Sorry, I was going to say, I feel like the ping pong balls were there. To blow out a candle. But the problem is that there was someone in the building who worked in the building who had a latex allergy. So we had to ditch the balloons.
Severe enough that latex is not allowed in the building, whether that person is there or not.
Yeah.
Because they were off for the weekend.
Yeah.
And it was still like, latex cannot go in this building. So they had to completely ditch the balloon idea.
Yep.
And come up with a brand new game
and
on the fly. Literally the day before.
Yep.
They had to figure out, one of our 3 games is gone out the window. And they came up with this idea to, what do they call it? The little party poppers?
Party blowers or something. Yeah. The
kazoos? No,
not a kazoo.
Whatever. They got
the
the
thing
little
that unravels
goes,
goes.
How do we not know the name of these things? Yeah, little party blowers.
Party blowers.
They extend. So they came up with that. You got to push a ping pong ball off this ledge and bounce it into a little bucket, and then collect as many as you could. Which that was a great. And you couldn't hold your own. You had to hold the other person's, which was brilliant.
That's the same thing. The balloons were you had to hold it for your partner to blow up the balloon. I'm like, listen, I like Ren, but I don't want to blow up a balloon that he's holding with his hands. That just feels weird. And we had to practice it. We all practiced it, and we sort of got it down. But then as soon as they ditched the idea because of this, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually a little grateful. But then they did this, I'm all, it's a little bit better, not much. You had to hold
at least the plastic piece they could hold.
Yeah.
But I will say,
you and Jeb, your thing kept going. Woo, just going
something
up.
was wrong with ours because the second 2 things. One, there was no way of blowing into it without making noise. This thing, any air traveling through this was going to make the noise. Didn't matter how you blew. Trust me, I tried everything. And then when it extended, it went straight up.
Yeah.
Right. So now I have to like put it at this downward angle to hit the ball off. And it was going to make noise every single time. Meanwhile, I watched yours back. Somehow you were able to blow through yours without making air.
Well, if you blew hard, you had to blow with the right pressure. If you blew, there was sort of yours, you guys were up a creek with yours. With mine, if you blew, there was a pressure that would make the noise. But if you dialed it back a little bit, then it would extend it.
That didn't exist in ours.
Yeah.
That was given to us. There was no way of there was. I tried for like a long time after it was over to try to make ours not make noise. And I tried every bit of pressure I possibly could.
Yeah.
Trust me, there was no not making noise. And I'm like, come on, man, how do we get the? But we still did fine. It was fun. So that was a very great replacement on the fly for them.
Yeah, and then but that was another. They should have mixed up. What was it? Wasn't there a third one? Oh my god, the third one, dude.
The bubbles, the bubble wrap.
So one person would be blindfolded, and they had to go find what are they really called? Moan sticks? Because that's a terrible name. It's a stick you pick up, and when you go vertical, there's like a thing inside that goes.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I don't know what they're called. Somebody called them a moan stick. I'm like, that can't be right, but whatever. Anyways, the objective is you had to pick them up and then tilt them, and you had to put them in a bucket with the tape side up or down, whatever it was. But the person doing it had to be blindfolded, and they could only move, like you can't talk to them. You could only touch them with a stick to tell them where to go. So Ren and I came up with this great system. I tap you on the shoulder, 45 degrees, tap you this way, chest, whatever. We had it down. What we didn't talk about, because the ground is covered with bubble wrap and the chicken,
ducks,
rubber chickens that make noise if you step on them. We never talked about this, but Ren just decided to never pick his feet up. So every time he was walking, he was shuffling through the bubbles, and it was the loudest thing I've heard in my life, dude. And I didn't help because I wasn't blindfolded, but I stepped on bubbles. I was like, dude, this is a complete lost cause. But it was still clever, though.
Yeah, that was fun. Me and Jem, we kind of came up with a system, but I immediately forgot it the second it started. So she was just getting irritated, and I think she just started smacking me for just because she was mad. I don't think she was hitting me to like turn me or anything. She was just hitting me because she was like, "I'm gonna hit this guy because he's an idiot right now." So probably more Jem disappointed faces from that segment, but we did all right.
That was great.
Yeah. And then I don't even know what Jimmy and Green did, but it ended up being a close thing, and Jimmy and Green won, I think, and then me and Jem, and then you and Ren, but. That was just such a fantastic time. And that was another thing that like really set the tone for the weekend. Like it was just hilarious. Yeah. The whole thing was just so funny. Like seeing people try to work together. It was, reminiscent of like Tango and Zed did with their clumsy cooking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So very, very similar like vein of that kind of entertainment. So that was well done on their part for coming up with such a cool thing. It very much felt like a game show that you would watch on TV. Yeah. And that's what we wanted to do from a production standpoint.
Spectacular. And the whole time I remember, like I said, in the meetings when we were planning, I was like, the quiet game, and they talked a little bit about what it was going to be. And my brain's like, how are they going to measure? Are they going to have a decibel reader? That's kind of cool. What kind of things? And I was like, doesn't matter. Check. I'm in. I want to be in it. You know what I mean? Because it sounds like it's fun. And it was exactly that. It was way too much fun. Then that same room ends up being used later. They also did the Secret Hermit. It was like a detective one, which I wasn't. This was a segment that I wasn't actually involved in. So I don't. Were you involved? in it?
No. We tried to balance out how many people were in how many segments, so that we would all have a little bit of downtime. That was one thing that we learned from the year before, was because in Michigan, I think like all of us went almost the whole time. Like, and so 2 10-hour days of streaming in a row was rough. I remember by the end of day one, we were exhausted, and then we were like, "Oh my gosh, we have a whole nother day of this." And so it was like, okay, next year, let's try to. There's enough of us that were there that we can actually like take turns, like. So we had like a sign up sheet. Here's all the things we're doing. Who wants to be part of it? And so I remember going through and being like, in my head, I was like, I want to sign up for half the things. Yeah. And I just kind of had to like pick, and mostly like once the schedule was set, that's when I was like, okay, I want to do a couple things, give myself a break, and then do a couple things, give myself a break. And so I ended up, because that was like back to back to back after the shock cast and then the quiet ones, I didn't end up signing up for the Mystery Hermit one.
Yep, me neither. And so that we just kind of took a little break, and I was able to get a sneak peek at it here and there, but I didn't follow it too closely. I kept hearing the buzz of when they were talking about the things that they had seen, and it sounded like it was pretty cool. And
Yeah,
it was a
another
really-
very, very good idea. I remember like when I got back to my station and I got a chance to actually talk to my chat, which that's another thing. It felt like I never actually got a chance to sit at my station and just chat with my people that were there in my stream. But it was okay because they had set it up in such a cool way that if we weren't at our station, we could just press a button and it would go to like the main feed. So it was
Yeah.
like we didn't have to be at our computer the whole time.
Yeah.
There was always, no matter what channel you tuned into, you were either going to see the person you tuned into or the main broadcast.
Right.
You didn't have to bounce around if you didn't want to.
Right.
And so I would just set it to that. But I came back and I had a little bit of time to talk to my chat, and I was like, so far, what's your favorite? And a lot of them were saying the Secret Hermit one.
Wow,
They
very
were really
cool.
digging that one. So that must have went really well, even though I think I was eating lunch.
Yeah, I think
and
we were
it
trying
was
to
up
grab
on the screen in the
Yeah.
little cafe area in the Mojang Studios.
Yeah.
And I remember looking over and I see a hermit, and he was PvPing Martin, but that you couldn't tell who the hermit was because they were a mystery hermit. And he's like kind of doing this, ducking behind the wall, coming out, shooting a shot. And I was like, I think that's Cub. And I nailed it. Like within 2 seconds, I guessed it was Cub just based off of his movements in Minecraft.
Interesting.
And it's at that point I'm like, so then it was Cub, and I was like, this is insane. Like, I know way more about how hermits move in the game than I would have ever imagined. And I bet
Yeah.
you the same thing was going on for the viewers. So I can imagine that being a really cool
That
experience.
must have been fun.
Sit at home and play detective
Be able to
as
play
well.
along.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and let's talk about that main feed part, right? Because that was a big thing, and because I felt bad, like my job was to be streaming the whole time because I'm going to be at my station. But if I'm involved in other, whether it's helping set up for something or I'm in another segment, then I can go to that main feed, and that main feed was kind of controlled by Scar's headquarters, which is great. We haven't even talked about that. That
yeah.
he wasn't actually in the room with us. He was down the hall in a completely different room, but he was at the mother station where
Yeah.
he had this great setup where there was a giant monitor that had every single
Yeah,
one of our
I visited
POVs.
him when I was attempting to do my vlog.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
visited him and got a shot of that setup. Maybe I'll get you the video and you can kind of pop that up so people can see. Like I got behind where Scar was so people could see like what the setup was, and there was that one monitor off to the side to where he literally could see all of our stations at once. And so if Scar wanted to, he could look over and be like, oh, it looks like Skizz is doing something cool. Let's go see what he's up to. And he could press a button
Yeah.
on the main feed and pick your stream to show that off. And so he was like his own little program director
Yeah.
from behind the chair, which was awesome. It was
You want to
super
know
cool.
what an idiot I am? That he almost never went to my feed because I unknowingly closed the window that was providing the feed.
Oh no.
I didn't even know. I had no idea how they were doing that. I don't think I remember closing a window. I think I remember closing a relatively unfamiliar window. Like not really. I want to minimize up. I didn't know there was a thing running that was like feeding
Yeah.
its own private thing. So I had no idea until later got it sorted. But yeah, he was sort of the go-to, if you will, for that feed, for the main feed. But he could redirect that main feed back to wherever you want, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And it was just such a brilliant setup.
I remember we did have a meeting with the production team, and we were trying to tell them that we kind of wanted that little cross feed thing going on, and it got like super complicated, and they figured it out.
They
Like
crushed
that was
it.
exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
To just be able to be like, okay, well, I gotta go, guys. I gotta go set up for the hot ones or whatever. But don't worry, you can watch this. Boom.
Yeah.
Main feed, get up from my station, go do my thing, knowing that they were in good hands and we're
Yes.
getting like the top level production quality stuff.
Yep.
At that point. The one hard thing was like every time I'd come back to my station and I would want to like kind of hang out with my chat a little bit, I'd be watching a little bit of what they're seeing on the main stream. And I'd be like, I don't want to cut that off.
There, you
Like-
nailed it.
like-
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Yeah.
I must have sat down 24 times saying like, okay, let me hang out. And I'm watching just like you said, I'm not more interesting than this. I'm like, and literally this is a moment that has flow. I don't really just rip them out of this flow because
Right.
I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm not the only one that dealt with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Same
So I started to
thing.
feel a little bit of guilt because I was
Yeah.
like, I feel like I should be in front of my camera, in front of my chat more, but I don't have any. Like what they're watching right now is the best thing to watch.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the weekend, I was like, I kind of felt bad. Like I barely got a chance to talk to my chat. You know, but
Yeah.
they hopefully got a chance to see all the cool stuff. You
Yeah.
know, from the feed. There was a little bit of tech issues where it got kind of like black screen every once in a while. I think they did kind of dial that in by the end of the day too. But
Yeah.
another thing, we have like what do they call it? Post-mortem. after the event, you kind of talk about what went right, what went wrong. There's a couple little things that we could talk about to improve for next year. And hopefully there will be another event next year. We're already talking about it. Nothing's solidified yet, but it went so well that I could imagine us being back.
I agree. Again. And see how we're going to mix it up. Now, the hot ones we did last year. And this year, this is your segment, and this is a fun story for me. This was your segment. Was that on day 1 or day 2?
That was the end of day 2. We purposely put it on the end of day 2 because we knew that once you run the gamut of hot sauces, tummies might not feel so good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So yeah, it was the very end of day 2. In fact, I think accidentally we got behind schedule, like from the very get-go on day 2. I don't know how that happened. We got behind schedule, and so the auction that we wanted to have focus on the end of the auction to like, hey everybody, this is the last chance to bid on this. Here's where everything's at. Well, hot ones ended up taking place during the ending of the auction, so we didn't get that chance. We'd envisioned that going a little bit differently. So the auction actually ended during the hot ones segment,
did it really?
If I'm not mistaken. So that bit kind of got missed a little bit because we went so far over. Yeah. But yeah, that was towards the end of day 2. I can't even remember what else was after the Mystery Hermit on day 1. Permit Master was day 2. Hermit Master, whatever, because there's no permits anymore.
Yeah.
Was that day 2?
I think that was day...
See, the weekend's a blur. It all like ran together. But I think that went really well. I've seen some clips from that. We got, you and I, that was day 2 because we were having lunch. And we got pulled in. We were in the middle of just having lunch, and then all of a sudden Green comes out and he's like, hey, Cub needs you, and Martin needs you. And we're like, what? We're not part of this segment. What's happening here?
Yeah, because we were trying to take a little bit of a break. Like that was before the hot ones was the Permit Master, right? And I got lucky there because Martin asked for me because he needed a drummer, and then you went to Cub and they had you play a piano.
Yeah,
and it's neither one of us plays piano.
So I go in and I'm like, what do you need, Cub? Because Green said you needed help. Yeah, and he's like, oh, I'm having to write this song, and I'm coming. Can you help me write the lyrics? And so I helped him write the lyrics. That was no problem. And then he's like, okay, so I'm gonna sing, and then you can play this, and he gives me the piano. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how to play piano. Okay, I'm gonna mash some keys, and some sort of rhythm or whatever. And it wasn't very good.
Oh, I'm sure it was fine.
It wasn't very good. And so I remember he gets done with his last line, and I get done mashing the keys on the keyboard, and I look over at Green and Jem, and they're standing there with like this blank look on their face. They were not entertained at all, and I'm just like, did it?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I don't know what's happening here. I had a sandwich in my mouth 5 seconds ago. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, and I got lucky because Martin was like, I just need you to put down a beat, and he said something. He's like, do, and I just started drumming right when he said it. He's all, yep, and then we had like 10 seconds to brief or whatever. Then the cameras came over, and I'm like, you ready? He's like, yep. And I just hit the thing 4 times and we just went into it. And Martin just smashed it. He created great lyrics. He's got great rhythm. Yeah. My part was just to do fundamental drumming and have some fun with it. But it looked like a kind of a polished thing, ish. And it was so much fun watching Green and Jem's response during that whole thing, especially Jem, dude, because she just had her mouth open like, what the? And then all of a sudden she just starts like jamming. Dude, it was just so funny. And when we were done, I was just like, dude, and later I was like, so who won? He's like, oh, come on. It was so funny. He's like, obviously we did. So it was, that was good. But then we went to go try to go relax a little bit, but you couldn't relax too much because you had the hot ones coming up.
Yeah, that's when I found out the set wasn't right.
That's when you found out the set wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
And that was, I was finishing my lunch, and you came in, you're like, hey, how you've been doing almost everything, which wasn't true, but I was in a lot of things at once. So it was what it felt like. You're all, you want to do something else? And I'm all, what's going on? And then you're all, so the hot ones is my segment, but I'm in it.
Yeah.
And I'm all, do you want me to MC? You're all, I do.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment, I'm like, I'm really flattered and honored that he asked me to do this.
My initial plan was that I was going to MC, host it, and eat the wings at the same time. And then it kind of hit me that I'm probably going to take a 10, the bomb, whatever, and it's going to floor me, and I'm not going to want to talk. And so it's going to be really rough to try to lead everybody through this, especially after, you know, it was organized. Okay, we're going to do these 3 people, then we're going to do these 3 people. And we had it more of a game show than the hot ones. You know what I mean? Like we really put a twist on it. And that was one of the things we strived to do this year was to make, if we're going to repeat anything from the year before, make it way different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're not just repeating stuff for the sake of repeating stuff. And so we completely changed the format. And it's just like, as I started to walk through literally moments before this thing, it dawned on me, oh no, this isn't going to work.
Right.
I can't actually be on the microphone and eating wings at the same time. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I asked you last minute, and holy crap, you knocked it out of the park.
Well, thank
you.
you.
You stepped in with, like, I barely got a chance to go over the logistics of how it was going to work with you, and we were on camera.
Yeah.
And
if you remember, because we were in like the cafe area and we were going through it, I said, yeah, I'm happy to. And because it was, like you said, it was like within, we're about to start. I'm all, you got to tell me what the show is, because I don't know what the show is. And then you started telling me a little bit, and then I realized it's not fully hashed out yet. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, no problem. So we're working on it, and I hear this like in my head, because I know like it's almost go time. We're working on it, and then somebody else starts to like sort of derail it a little bit. I'm all, nope, get back to it, because I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, we got it. What is the plan? And we went in there, and it was great. Everybody's a total professional, and I made one giant blunder because I thought we were going to do.
just skipped around.
Yeah.
We had one extra round planned.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and then or I forgot, or one of the two. But it didn't matter. You know what I mean? We made a bit out of it, and then we went on. And I got to tell you, my wife and I were watching the show, and she was like, you know, my thing was, if you got the hot one and you were voted to have the hot one, I'm going to punish you. But if you didn't have the hot one and you were voted to have had it, I'm going to punish you.
Mhm.
And that happened to Jimmy. And he got the paddles for everybody thought he got the hot one, and he wasn't him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I maybe too much. I feel a little bad.
Yeah. So since we're doing this show and we're doing behind the scenes, let me walk you through that a little bit. So Dot, Zed's partner, Dot,
Yeah.
was in charge of deciding who was going to get the hot one.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the 3 was going to be hot. And her choices in that round were Anthony, he works with Mojang,
Yep.
social media guy, and Zed and Jimmy. Is that right? Was it those 3 together?
Yes. Wait.
Because it was me, Tango, and Zed.
You,
Tango, and Zed were in
correct.
one.
Yeah. I was like,
Right.
that
So
sounds
it was Joe, Jimmy, and
There it
Anthony
is.
as a
Yeah.
group. Right. Joe, we knew, can handle hot sauce like no problem. He did it last year, and it just didn't phase him. Jimmy, we knew, does not handle hot sauce well. He
Yeah.
didn't make it through the whole gamut last year.
Yeah.
And Anthony was a bit of a wild card, although he had said, I'm pretty good with spice, because
He's like, you have to understand, I'm part Korean. and
yeah.
This is in our diet.
And so like
Yeah.
spice is part of his normal life. So he felt pretty confident, but he wasn't quite sure because he's never tried it.
Yeah.
And so Dot got to decide of those 3 who was going to get the hot one.
Yeah. Which I still don't know if she did it like randomly or if she did.
No, she knew when she was
She
handing the
knew,
plates
but
off.
I'm wondering if she made the decision randomly.
Yeah,
Like,
well, what we found out right before this was happening was Jimmy had a sore in his mouth. He had like a canker sore or whatever in his mouth, and he showed me, and it was nasty. And he's like, I'm not sure how well this is going to fare against a hot sauce. And Dot heard that. And so Dot was actively trying to make sure Jimmy was not going to get the hot sauce.
I didn't know any of this.
Yes. And so Jimmy was not given the hot wing, but he didn't bluff well enough, and he got voted. And then he got the hot sauce.
He wasn't trying to bluff. He didn't have the hot one. I think he may have thought he did, and he thought he was bluffing.
Maybe. Yeah.
But you want to know what's crazy? Because he was, like you said, it was him, Joe, and Anthony. And I was like, my vote doesn't count, because I didn't know either. And I was like, there's proof, and this is in the video. I'm like, I don't know who it is. I was like, I don't know who it is. And then Joe's all, I'm trying not to fall asleep. I'm all, I know who it is. And I was right. It was Joe. And it was like absolutely Joe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Jimmy's the one who people voted for. And I gave him so much of the time.
And he gave him so
Jimmy,
much.
I'm sorry.
He gave him so much. And I asked Jimmy afterwards, I was like, so, you had that sore in your mouth, and how was it? And he's like, okay, it was okay. Like he was worried about it. So it was okay. You didn't kill a guy.
Yeah. No, well, actually, it was the amount in general. I didn't like, you know what I mean? But like it's supposed to be a dab, and I put arguably, I will say this, I should have been more cautious. It flowed out of the bottle quicker than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
I did plan on giving him more than normal, but it flowed out a little quicker, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And then he did it, and then, but he's probably still alive. I haven't caught up with him in a while.
So then we thought the last round of it would be fun to have us all go at the same time, raise the stakes a little bit, all 6.
And one of you will have the 10, and
yeah, it was going to be just one of us was going to have the 10, the hottest one, and then they would have to, the other 5 would have mild or whatever.
Yeah.
But as we were going, you could one by one see that like everyone's faces were lighting up a little bit, and then we realized, oh, somebody worked their way into Dot's area where Dot was the one deciding who was getting what, and decided just to give all 6 of us the bomb.
Yeah,
which is arguably it's the 8 sauce.
It's like the worst one.
It is by far the worst.
I don't know why it's number 8. It's the most painful.
They
one.
must do it for the show purposes or something, because they're way wrong. But yeah, it is the worst. And so we all took the bomb, even though only one of us was supposed to have the hot sauce. Thank you, Grian.
Yeah, Grian's idea, and a good idea at that.
Our button pusher.
Yeah.
Well. Even then, I thought because this is like my 4th or 5th time doing this, I was like, I can handle it. I've done it before. Something about where the sauce lied on the chicken hit the very back of my throat. As I tried to put it in nice and not have to get it all over the place. I tried to have it go right down the gullet.
Yeah.
It hit the back of my throat. And that was the worst I've ever had. Other than when it got in my eye.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hide it. There was no hiding it. Luckily for me, there was no punishment that round because we all just got punished.
Yeah.
So,
and I got to tell you guys, I was like, who do we think it is? And they all voted. I'm well, it turns out you all got an 8.
Yeah. That was very, very rough. And then I was done after that. That was it for me.
Yeah.
I was cooked. We did the 1 through 10 afterwards, which was my idea. I still wanted to do 1 through 10 because
Oh, that's right. You guys, and then after all of that, you guys actually did the whole show 1 through 10.
I personally really enjoy the hot sauces up until 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And then it starts, So I wanted to taste them. It was the new season lineup of the hot ones, and I watched the show. Sean Evans, what's up, buddy? I watched the show and as I see people tasting the wings and be like, oh, this got a little smoky flavor, I'm like, oh, I want to know what that tastes like, So I wanted to taste the full gamut. Well, guess what I didn't think of? After having 10 and 8, the bomb, it didn't matter. I couldn't taste anything. So I never really got a chance to taste the full lineup of sauces.
Yes, you did. We did it 4 times in a row. You've done it 4 times.
But they're new sauces every season. It's a new lineup. It's a new set of. Yes. Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I wanted to taste the new sauces, but I couldn't because my mouth was on fire.
Where are those sauces? You have them?
We signed the box and left it for the Mojang employees as a present.
Oh, I did sign that.
So Anthony posted a picture on his Twitter yesterday or the day before of the box and it in Mojang Studios and the employees. Because I said, hey, Anthony, we can't auction hot sauce. That would be irresponsible. I said, maybe we sign it and leave it. And he's like, oh yeah, that would be great. Because there's plenty of people in the studio that are they watch you guys. They're fans of Hermitcraft.
That's cool.
And so, we signed the Hot Ones box and they got, it's in the Mojang Studios for how long, I don't know, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
And Anthony did a spectacular job. He handled the hot sauce like it was nothing.
He did a great job.
It was cool having him.
Yeah, and he just jumped on in what a trooper. I was happy to not do it again, which is crazy. Is I was like, I get to be both. I get to be a part of it, and I don't have to do it. I've done the hot ones 3 times, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore because I just don't like. My stomach, it feels sick a little bit afterwards, and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not doing it anymore. And I was like, I get to be a part of it, and I don't have to endure the pain. At one point, I even made the joke. I'm like, you guys look miserable. It's making me sweat. I'm going to have a glass of water. You guys are like, shut up.
Yeah. I mean, we had the milkshakes afterwards, but after that, the bomb hit the back of my throat, that milkshake didn't help in the slightest. I guzzled the whole milkshake. Yeah. And then I felt terrible for guzzling a milkshake. But
did you not feel any sort of sickness from all the dairy after that? I know you don't have a dairy intolerance.
No, I was okay. But when we went out to dinner that night and everybody's ordering all the food, I just got chips and some cold dip, like a French onion dip to try to cool down because I was still feeling like some heat in my stomach. It didn't feel great.
That's the thing is that all 3 times I've done it, the worst I've ever felt is when I had a shake afterwards. Like when I had the whole shake, I think I got a dairy intolerance. Anyways, that was awesome. That went off without a hitch. And we also, throughout the entire thing of this entire event, we just had milestones.
The milestones,
which is insane. Which is insane to think if I really pull back the curtain here on my Skizz's mind, and I think about my life and where I was as a kid. If somebody had told me, dude, in the future, you're going to be a part of charities where you guys are going to have milestones where you do silly stuff, and the milestones are going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'd have been like, you're outside of your mind.
Yeah.
There's just no way that that's my life. And this is our lives. And it was just so amazing. And we got to celebrate every time we hit a milestone, and with a bunch of different things. And one of them that the people loved it. People wanted to see more of it was the tortilla slap.
Yeah, you came up with that because it's something you saw on TikTok or something.
Yeah, well,
right?
it's actually Martin's the one who said it first, like a long time ago, and it just sort of lingered in our minds. And then I was doing more brainstorming with Green and Scar as the date was coming closer, and I'm like, Martin brought up this tortilla slap thing. I think it's a good idea. And then you've seen the memes online. You basically hold water in your mouth and you do rock paper scissors, and then you smack, and whoever spits out the water loses. It's really silly, but it's very, very funny. And I decided to run that segment, right? It was not very complicated. Just make sure there's water and enough towels on the ground and tortillas, and we're in business. And it was, and I knew at one point, I didn't plan on it being you, but I knew at one point I was going to do something from a clip I had seen where it was 3 people getting ready, and one person who's supposed to be neutral just backhands somebody. He never saw it coming. And I thought that was going to be funny. And in this particular moment, I was like, it's going to end up being Impulse. And I came up and I pretended like I was going to say rock, paper, scissors. I actually did say rock. I said rock, and I smacked you, and you kept the water in your mouth. How did you not spit that out? I was like, dude, if he didn't spit it out, then it's never coming out. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
That was so
funny.
I
had it locked. Like, once it was in my cheeks, I like locked it in. Like there it was like, yeah, it wasn't going anywhere. But that caught me off guard. Like, out of all the hits I took, that was the hardest hit. The back end from you. Yeah. That was it got me just right. It like traveled up my cheek just right. And I felt that. I felt all of that. Yeah, that was tough. But I deserved it because I hit Zed pretty good. I hit Jimmy pretty good.
You did.
A couple times.
Your tortilla was breaking on their faces and
my tortilla flew across the room.
Yeah, you were hitting
almost
them
hit
hard.
Jem.
One of the times you got Jimmy, the slap was so good it like stunned him, and he just like sat. How can a tortilla hurt? But I'm like, I don't have to know if it's going to hurt because it's my segment. I'm not going to put myself in it. So I did it, and it was all said and done. 10 minutes later, Green comes in. He's like, I missed the tortilla thing. Like, he wanted to see it happen. I'm like, it's all over. He's like, Skizz, do it with me. I'm all, no, I ran it so I didn't have to do it. He's like, please. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it with you. And we did. And I'm glad I did because it was super funny. And he got me good, dude. Green smacked me on the ear, and it actually did the thing where it pressurized your ear and like popped it like he got me just right. I'm like, these tortillas are no joke, dude.
Yeah, I felt bad after I whacked Jimmy a couple times. I was like, I gave him a big old hug. I'm like, we still good, bro?
Yeah, he's too cool. Yeah.
we still good. I remember though, because I ended up doing it twice, right? I did it with Zed and then with Jimmy, or maybe the other way around. I can't remember the order. But I remember after doing it the first round, I thought I was done. I was like, I'm out of it, I'm done. And then you're like, okay, the final round, and it was like the winners of the previous rounds, and I thought I was done. I didn't think I was gonna have to do this again. And I remember I was like, fine, and I grabbed my water bottle that I'd set on the chair next to me, and I grab it all angry. Fine, I'll do it again. I squeezed the water bottle, and the cap wasn't all the way on. The roaming camera guy from the from Liquid Dogs, the roaming camera guy was standing next to me, and when I squeezed the water bottle, water sprayed all over the guy, including myself. I got it on my pants and stuff. And I felt so bad. I'm like, I just drenched the cameraman because of my little fit that I just threw because I have to go do this again.
I didn't know that.
I felt so bad that I looked down at my pants. I just got water spots all over my pants.
That's amazing, dude. So who ended up winning? I forget.
It was a draw at the end, I think.
Oh, I think I wrapped it up. I'm like, yeah, enough's enough. You guys are
people just weren't spitting.
Yeah.
There wasn't any spit coming out.
Yeah. Tryhards.
I was try hard on that. Well, I mean, Yeah, I mean, there was a towel on the ground, but there's electronics everywhere. I was like, I'm not like
It
gonna
was
blast water out of my mouth
Yeah.
for like 10 meters, you know? Like
It was a kind of a weird setup, but it was entertaining nonetheless.
that was really good. And then like, so we found out, you know, after the hot ones, Tango was, you know, just a Jedi with the hot ones. He doesn't react to hot sauces. We know this because he was on the podcast when we did it.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't react to hot sauce for some reason. And then we got a chance to find out he's just not human, because you did the game, the
harmonica challenge.
The harmonica challenge. Where,
Yeah.
where you have a harmonica and you get gonna get shocked.
I'm shocking them,
Yeah.
which in retrospect, I wish I did rubber bands on the legs instead, but
Your initial idea was frying pans.
yeah. Hit
I'm
him
glad
in
we didn't do
Well,
that.
hit him in the shin with the frying pan, but we done
You
about
act like
that.
that's okay.
Well, you know,
well, just hit him in the shin.
I didn't want people to have bruises afterwards because there's too much evidence then. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you're right. I didn't understand it. I hit him at one point with a 16. I was shocking him like you can't believe.
insane.
There's a shot out there of Cub behind Tango doing this with his hands. Like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
how was he not being? At one point, I thought the thing was broken. He was just not reacting. Every once in a while, he would have a little chirp. I'm like, well, it's not broken. I hit him with a 16, and he kept it together. And I'm like, I don't understand what I'm dealing with here. What is happening? How does he not? He had the harmonica in his
Absolute
mouth.
machine.
How in the world is he making no noise and he's getting hit with a 16? I can't make it. You ever see when somebody gets, more often than not, if somebody takes a hit from a taser gun, they end up going down. And then when they train and stuff in the police academy and military, they actually have people catch them and bring them down to the ground on a crash mat.
Mhm.
And then you'll see videos out there where other people get shot with it and they just grab it and pull it out of their skin. I don't understand it. How is it one person, their whole body locks up and they collapse over, and other people are like, just get this out of me? I don't understand it. And that's who Tango is, dude.
I didn't get it either.
It's unbelievable. I can't make any sense of it. There was also a snail race. Remember that?
Yeah, Scar had these really cool like remote control cars that were made into the snails to represent from the Life series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to see the actual race.
So I was one of the racers. It was me. I don't remember who the other two were. Me, Jimmy, and maybe Scar. I don't remember. But they were RC cars, but they were all on the same frequency, dude. So if one person pushed up, all three of them started moving. Yeah. So it's like, how are we gonna do this? So it's like we had to find a way to cleverly mess with the other people or something. I really don't know. And the only reason I won is I think I may have found a way to sort of override the frequencies and have a little bit more control on mine and get an early jump. I have no idea. All I know is that it was really silly and really, really funny. But it's another milestone that was indicative of yet another $100,000 for, I mean,
it was happening so fast that we
got behind on milestones.
Yeah. It was like, oh, we just hit the 400,000, but we haven't even done the 300,000 milestone. So now there's 2 milestones still left to do. And there was like, it was hard to, we had so much going on that it was hard to even take a break to do the milestones.
Yes. And
that's a good problem to have.
That's good. It's great to have. And it's also a space for the postmortem, because the reason it was hard to find time to do it was twofold. One was exactly what you just said. They were coming in so fast. And two, we didn't really plan for milestone execution. It was segment.
Yeah.
Where the heck are we supposed to do these milestones?
Yeah, we thought we thought certain segments would be shorter.
Yes.
And that would give us the time. And
Right.
then it turns out that wasn't really the case.
Right.
Like everything kind of ran longer than we anticipated. So
yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a blast. We also unlocked the Nerf guns, which I'm a giant child. I can't get enough of the Nerf guns. And we had an all-out war between both halves of the room.
That was fun.
Oh, dude, I'll go to war with you anytime, man. So we're playing on the same team. And we're on our side, and you end up getting out.
I got out really quick.
Really
in the
quick.
first
You got
round.
hit, you got stuck right away. And then you were loading guns and throwing them to me, which is awesome, dude. And at one point I'm like, dude, and I just flank on the right side. I cross enemy lines and I take out 3 or 4 people. And then I pretend to jump on them. And I realize nobody shot me. So I ran back. I was still alive. I took out half the team. I'm like, I'm still alive. And I got back in the war. Then the next time I was out early and you were in. So I'm loading guns and throwing you guns and everything. Dude, we won both times. It was awesome.
We're dangerous.
Yeah, and Jimmy at one point was using Scar as a rolling
shield.
It was so dark, but so funny. It was so funny. And Scar's obviously it's Scar. He's an absolute master champ, and he just did his thing, dude.
That room was a mess.
Oh yeah.
That I felt really bad. So at the end of it all, we went like 2 hours over, and I mean it was so amazing. We ended up hitting like 843,000 last I checked.
Yeah.
And which is insane. Like that's a lot. That's a lot to raise in one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to the community, incredible support from the community, obviously. Yep. And so we ended things off with Zach deciding that he was okay getting pies to the face.
Yep.
Which I think he must have some sort of dairy intolerance or something. Because instead of it being just like whipped cream, it was shaving cream. I remember watching them do the bowls and using shaving cream, and I'm all, well, that's an odd choice, but there must be a reason behind this. And so he had three pans of shaving cream slammed on his face. What an absolute champ.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of Gamers Outreach to put himself out there like that. And then we all had the confetti and stuff. We made an absolute mess of that office space between the Nerf darts everywhere, the confetti guns, the shaving cream, the you name it. I mean, there was just stuff everywhere. I mean, you'll see in some of the vlogs, like Jimmy's done a vlog, and you'll see some other vlogs, and I'll provide you some of the footage I took. There's like boxes everywhere because there was so much stuff we brought in for all the different segments and stuff. And at the end of the day, our bus showed up, and it was time for us to go. And we left the place, and like literally as we're ending the stream, the production team is there erasing our hard drives. Yeah. Like they were and unplugging our mice. Like I'm like, okay, guys, we'll see you. Thanks for hanging out. Good weekend. I'm like hitting this, and they're unplugging the mouse and deleting the hard drive. And like they were just like we just left, and they took care of it. Yeah. Like
they did amazing.
I couldn't believe it. Like I woke up in the morning. I'm like, I wonder if they're still working on this place because it was a mess.
Yeah, they were absolute masters.
So hats off to everybody behind the scenes because we were only a small part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what we did in front of the camera, and we were one part of it. There was so many people involved, from Gamers Outreach to the production team to the Mojang Studios and all the employees there. Thanks for giving us your office for the weekend. And there's so many people involved. Can't thank everybody. Stage again. Yeah. Stage is like directing traffic and managing the auction and all the sign drives and everything like that. There was remote people sending us the names for the signs. There were so many moving parts, like you said. Yep. That it was just an incredible event. I can't wait to do it again.
I know. And the signs that Impulse is talking about is that we built a big bridge on the Hermitcraft server, and every sign represented $100 towards the cause. It was either because it was 4 separate people with $25 each, or there was one a neon green lit up name on it. Each sign was 100, and I flew through that thing. It takes several rockets to fly through this, and I'm just like, I am blown away at how many people gave to this cause and what it ends up doing. I'm just so very pleased. Yeah. I'm so very pleased on what's happening and what is going to continue to happen. I can't wait to, it's like I got to get back to work, but I just want to get back to doing next year's charity. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just,
I'm already wanting to plan like an even better one for next year.
Yeah.
I want to visit as more carts are delivered, because they're going to be able to get many more carts. I haven't done the math to figure out how many more carts that is, but it's like hundreds of carts out to the world. And I'm sure there'll be more carts delivered to hospitals near us, and I hope you can get a chance to visit as well.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
It really does drive
you
home.
and me and Tango, dude.
Yeah, it really does drive home the importance of what we were doing and what because of the generosity of everybody, what that leads to. So I can't wait to do that. But yeah, we're back home now, and we're back to business,
back to work.
Yeah,
fun work, great everything. If you did tune in for the charity event, thanks for doing that. And if you were in my stream, I'm sorry I was there so infrequently. It was
Same.
A lot of moving parts going on. But we had such a blast. And obviously there's several people who are watching right now who also gave to the cause. So thank you so much for doing that, because watching it do what it does for these people is just amazing. This company is an absolute good, and you're helping them thrive and continue doing the good that they do. So thank you for that. Yeah. That was a fun recap, and I can't wait. Can't wait for the next one.
Can't wait for the next one. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap up here. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.